However, you have to have an interest in it. Otherwise, your business will suck. It's just that simple. If you have no interest in knowing how to speak to your audience, you're doomed.
You hear all the bull about marketing every day. Make your money in your sleep. My new offer is crushing it. My guru could beat up your guru. It's time to go right to the source and get the truth about marketing. With your host, the founder of copychief.com, Kevin Rogers.
Welcome back to The Truth About Marketing. It's Kev Rogers here. Glad you're with us. Very excited to have my guest, Jon Benson, on the show today. Jon, thanks for being here, man.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. Good to talk to you again, man.
You too, bro. I think last time we were together was in your living room.
Yeah.
And you gave one of the most amazing small group trainings I've ever seen in my life.
Thank you, man. That was a really epic event. The Samurai copywriting thing. Yeah, that was great. I really love that.
Yeah, you have this really unique skill, and that is taking proven copywriting formulas, things that you have toiled over, tested to death, and optimized through your own efforts, and those of your clients. Mm-hmm. And turning them into software, or I should say building software around those formulas. Are you pleased with the results people are getting overall with those softwares?
If you look at the just sheer numbers, I'd have to be insane not to be happy with it. I mean, what Accelerator does that I know of, because obviously we don't call all of our clients and go, hey, how much money did you make? But, I know a lot of the guys that are in it, and just the guys that I know average about 1.4 billion a year in sales. That's just the guys I know.
Yeah.
So to generate that kind of money from, either they're using 75% of the copy that I wrote and then 25% of the copy that I inspire you to write in Accelerator. Some of them are using 50-50, but to do anything to where your fingerprints are on that kind of a thing is just feels amazing. And with the new email copy pro thing, it's just going to be a lot larger because video sales letters are, you get several thousand customers. That's great. But email, millions of marketers use email. So
yeah. Right. Yeah. And so we'll get back to the softwares and get into that a little bit, but I want to acknowledge that, I've stood in the back of a room with copywriting legends, and while you were presenting on stage, and watched their jaw slowly drop over the course of your presentation, and literally rush to the room to buy your product. And that's saying a lot about a software that helps you write copy, because the objection a purist would have is that no robot could write copy, right? And I'm sure you've had to sort of deal with that. And but the thing about it is that I don't think anybody could claim to have been in the trenches of deep, copywriting and testing as you. So what would you say to people who want to brush it off as something that simple?
First of all, I would agree with you. You're totally right. And so, well before I heard, I can't remember the guy's name, just drew a blank. Another guy in marketing that they have software, and he said, we're not a software company or a SaaS. We are a marketing company. Accelerator and email, we're marketing products. We're not software. I have no interest in like when people ask me questions like, hey, can you ever create 19 different pretty interface templates that integrate? No. I do one thing. I give you copy that sells. What you do with it after that is completely up to you. And anyone that does all the other stuff, that's great, but that doesn't work. That works to make it maybe look pretty or function like and actually give you a player, things like that. But their objections are completely well-founded. If you're talking about a scripter, I could mention names, but I'll just put it this way. There's a couple of scripting tools out there, one by a good friend of mine. And it's in 15 minutes, you can set this up, and you can, in 15 minutes, you can't do jack shit. You can create an email or a video sales letter script that is marginal at best, a one-off by default. It's just not going to, because that's just not the way the world works, right? So Accelerator came out. I said, look, I know this software looks really cool, and I didn't build the software to sell the product. I built the software so you would freaking use the product. So the product was actually all the tutorial videos that came inside the software. I just happened to provide you with swipe copy inside of a software that built it all out for you, right?
Yeah.
So we've never tried to be a software company. And with the same thing goes with Email Copy Pro. You can't fill in 15 or 20 fields and then have killer, dynamically written, energetic, passionately written, engaging, NLP dripping emails come out. It just doesn't work that way. You actually have to put some effort into it, and then we had to put a ton of effort into it to do things that no one else is willing to do to make those things work. So it's a collaboration. We work with marketers that are not copywriters. So that's the rule number one, is that you do not need to be a copywriter to do this. However, you have to have an interest in it. Otherwise, your business will suck. It's just that simple. If you have no interest in knowing how to speak to your audience, you're doomed. Forget software, forget marketing. You might as well just forget business, because you've got to learn how to speak the sales language of your customer. And that's what I feel like, people think, they say nice things about my copywriting and you're one of the best copywriters out there, or whatever. I think I'm much better at being able to convey why copy works and how to make non-copywriters look like good copywriters. By just saying, hey, have you thought about asking yourself this question? And they go, oh, okay. I go, well, put that there. So it's just distinct. And you saw this live, and you saw this, like what we'll do distinctions, and we'll pull things out and get people to think outside the box. And that's really what the software is doing for Accelerator. And for Email Copy Pro, granted, there's 17,000 lines of code back there that are doing some amazing things, but that's not what it is. So if you depend on software, it's a gimmick. But you need to depend on knowing marketing, and that's what we do really well.
I love that. Yeah, it's really more of a training, like you said, with the software built around the fact that at every step, there's a video from you explaining exactly why this step is critical and how to think about it and how to get inspired about what to put there.
Right.
It's really the opposite of an algorithm or something, right? So.
Yeah. And I'm not, the bottom line is, like, some of the algorithmic stuff and some of the scripter tools, there's a few of them out there now that, hey, you create an email, create this 3 email sequence, and the emails, and I just have, me, Kevin, I've never how many times have you heard me like just bash other people? I just don't do that. I mean, it's like, I have a good reputation online because I think I have a lot of respect for people, but the tools themselves are, if you're a rank beginner and that you don't know better, that you're going to say, oh, this is kind of a cool email. What you don't know is that your target audience, your prospect, gets on average 172 emails a day, and you delete roughly 95% of them.
Yeah.
Now, just think about this. Is that going to get better or worse in the next 2 years?
Right.
So your emails have to leap out. They cannot be, that's not going to be like something that a machine can do for you, unless the machine is built around artificial intelligence that you are a part of. In other words, I am putting my personality through great instruction and through, yes, you do fill in the blank, and yes, you click a mouse, all that stuff, but through great instruction. And then I'm letting some of the best copywriting ever written, meaning that goes back 100 years. So yeah. I'll tell you more about it later, but yeah, that's different. And then your emails will stand out, and then your sales copy will stand out. But yeah, you have to have a passion for wanting to connect with the sales language of your audience. And everyone in your audience, there's 4 different sales languages. If you want to get into this conversation, I mean, we can.
Sure.
The way I look at it, you got fear, wants, desires, and actions. So wants and desires are distinctly different. And I learned this through writing and being in the relationship space for a long time. A want and a desire are 2 different things. And there's these subtle distinctions in how you write for fears, wants, desires, and actions. Everyone on your list is taking an action today. They're going to work, they're opening the door, they're taking a shower, they're doing something to improve their life. Every single person. Even if they're sitting on the couch, eating bonbons and watching Oprah reruns on DVRs on an outdated television. they think, and they're watching Oprah from 1988, but they think that they're doing something to improve their lives. Because in this case, I'm medicating myself from the pain of becoming a Catwoman or whatever the case may be, right? so they're trying to improve their life. So if you think about your prospect and in terms of they will always take an action, then asking them to take a specific action is only works when it's congruent to their fears, wants, and desires. So, but it has to be congruent to all three. So if you're just speaking to, hey, don't you want more money? Click here. You know, those terrible emails that get sent out by bots, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Don't get me started. So they have all the personality of Justin Bieber on Quaaludes. It's just, you might as well just shoot me now. So that's not going to work. But what does work is to really speak to the person as if it's one person and talking to them about hey, I understand this fear. I get it. And it's real. And your fears, you know, when you talk in relationship space, we talk about making someone feel present to their emotional state, making someone validated for feeling something. Like if your wife comes up to you and says, Kevin, I feel really betrayed right now, you know, and you might be thinking, betrayed? I'm like the most awesome dude in the world. And if you don't validate that feeling by going, you know, hey, okay, can I hear you out? And she says, fill in the blank. And you go, oh, I can actually see why that you would feel betrayed. Can I share my experience with you? And and then you can kind of go work through it, right? Yeah. Now, I'm not saying your wife feels that way, but I'm just saying, but your prospect may feel betrayed. Your prospect may feel angry, or your prospect may feel just simply afraid, right? And if you don't validate those feelings, you will never build rapport. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. What do you think gives you this kind of insight to people?
It's going to sound really a little bit impish, but I'm actually writing a book on this now. I've considered myself a love spy for the last 25 years. I spy on love. As a writer, as a guy that started in poetry of all things, as a guy that's been in the relationships and in relationship spaces, the guy that's gone through like a really epic marriage and a really, really bad one. As a guy that's been around my mom and dad that were married 54 years, I've just really been fascinated by the topic and conversation of love. And so being in that weird vibe space of like looking at it and what makes this work between relationships, between, you know, partnerships, it expanded into, wait, isn't this the same thing with a customer? Aren't you kind of courting a prospect? Aren't you kind of dating your customer? You're kind of married to your customer in a sense. So if you've taken that like of approach to how you would write to your spouse or how you would communicate, now I'm not obviously not from an intimate level, but from a personal level, it changes the perspective of your marketing entirely. You can't write this blah, 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 ginger, blah, blah, blah email. That's an old joke from you might remember some Far Side cartoons, but you can't write those emails. You would never say that to your, let's even take it out of the love relationship space. And let's go to just the friendship love you have for your best friend. Can you imagine writing to your best friend? Let's say his name is Bob. Hey, Bob, I found this awesome thing that you need to buy right now. Click here.
Yeah, right.
You know, Bob's going to go, what the hell's wrong with you, Kevin?
What happened to you? Yeah.
What are you smoking and why? Can I have some? But if you go, Bob, I was just thinking about you the other day. I know how much you really love this. And I saw this. I thought you might be really interested in it. Then Bob's going to, you know, and then so that's just all pleasure. There's nothing. But if you said, hey, Bob, remember the other day when you were talking to me about you're struggling with weight loss? That really got to me, man. I really care about you and I really want to see you succeed. And so I saw this the other day and I thought about you and then, you know, check it out. I think it could really help you. So all it is go from pain to pleasure there. Right. But you could just hear that's how I would speak to one of my best friends.
Yeah. And
I'm telling you, that's what got me into this, into being, I think, pretty good at this, is that I'm thinking of it, and I fail. Let me just be completely blunt. I fail at this sometimes when I get in a hurry, when I'm not present. I try to be present as much as I humanly can, but everybody gets knocked out of presence. And if I'm feeling more greed than passion, I can write stuff that sounds, it's rare, but it's happened. Everyone can do that. But if you back up and you feel that, if you get present to your audience, you get present to your avatar, and you're speaking to that avatar as a human being, your emails, your sales copy, your blog posts, whatever it may be, will take on a different personality.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's, here's a question related to that. Going back to email for just a second.
Sure.
Beyond sales, which is kind of the point of marketing, As our friend John Carlton says, money is applause, right? That's how we know we're doing things well. What is the number one indicator for you that an email struck the chord you're looking for?
There's two. I can't lie and say that EPC and revenue. People talk about EPC all the time. It's like, oh, this offer get $4 EPC. It's great. How much money did it make?
Right.
It had 9 clicks. It doesn't fucking matter, right? EPC is one metric, right? That people talk about. Open rates. It's like, yeah, this says a 28% open rate. Great. How many people click? So all those things are variables, right? It all comes down to revenue. So how much money on average do you make to send out to your list compared to this offer? And it does not matter. Like Daniel Levis is a genius at this. He will write emails that will get virtually, like practically no clicks in comparison to other emails, but the clicks have this ridiculously high EPC. So that's one of the things that makes his stuff great. And a lot of guys that are really good emailers, Joel Marion, I think Joel's one of the, he just writes Joel would never consider himself a copywriter. And I've written numerous stuff for BioTrust and I've written some of their top performing VSLs, but he's not bad. If he wanted to be a copywriter, that guy's so talented, he could definitely do it. And Josh is certainly, he's really good. So I
don't think they're up for the pay cut, but yeah.
That's the pay cut. But I remember when that, because they were friends of mine, but Joel sent me his book before he was anyone ever heard of him. But so I'm just really proud of the success that these guys have had. But the point is that you get this metric, this in your mind, that it has to be a subject line, open rate, click rate. It really just comes down to an email is successful if it makes more income than the other email from an honest perspective. So this is caveated with this. I want to couch this. Okay. I'm going to balkanize this, the subject between ethical and unethical people. Okay. Let's just do that right now. So I'm assuming that your product is not shit and that it's ethical. It's good. Okay. So in other words, if you're selling a cure for cancer and it's a homeopathic water pill, then, fuck you and die. But sorry, can I say that on your show? Sure.
We'll put an E on it. We're good.
Okay, good. But seriously, if somebody's doing that, I hope you get cancer. But you're ripping off people's hopes and dreams, and you're killing people. I don't have a problem with that. On the other hand, if you have a supplement that you really think can help lower a certain thing about something that can help people with cancer, and it's really legit, right? And you send that out and saying, this isn't a cure, but this can really help get you through maybe the pain of chemotherapy or whatever. And that does like sky high to your list, and it doesn't matter what the opens or clicks are. So so people are saying, I'm really interested in this, again, if it's an ethical offer. But the second metric that I look at is, can this email go viral? Which is something that no one talks about. I mean, because most emails don't go viral. I mean, an email has to have a really awesome storyline to go viral, or a really compelling hook that somebody goes, "Wow, check this out." I think you may like this, right? So one of the things that we work in with Email Copy Pro is we help emails go viral just by creating killer content, and PSs that encourage people to send the email to a friend if it inspires them. So that's very important.
Those are really good. It's interesting about the viral, because I'll tell you what mine is. Mine is reply, personal reply. Because if I feel, it when you hit it, right? And obviously we're all striving for this all the time, but John, there are certain emails you just feel it when you're writing it, right? That's what we all chase. And you send that thing out, and I think if somebody, beyond any other metric, if somebody is so compelled after reading your email to hit reply and begin typing and to share something deep and intimate with you, now that's a slow way to do business, right? But to me, it's like, okay, those are the mile markers I look for to go, when am I on track here, right? So, but I could see where, I think if it has that gives it the opportunity to go viral, because there's emotion attached. You made somebody feel on the other end of it.
I could not agree with you more. And that does show you that on a certain level, when you get your lists up as large as my fitness list is, for example, the nature of having a reply that is actually that I respond to or that anyone responds to is next to impossible.
Yeah.
But unless you're Gary Vaynerchuk, and like,
Don't sleep.
Yeah. Don't sleep and have the energy. You make the Energizer Bunny look like, he's Jordan Belfort from that scene in a, that's funny. But yeah, that's an awesome way to do it too.
All right. I want to ask you a little bit, so much we could cover. I want to respect your time. But I want to talk about voice for a minute because, in copy, obviously it's a major focus, like the voice of the copy. So if you're a copywriter, part of your specialty is you're good at capturing the voice of the expert you're writing for, those kinds of things. Right. But for you, it's literal voice. Mm-hmm. You are as well known for your voiceover work as you are for your copywriting work. Probably started, I'm guessing, with your own writing, but I've seen you do it with other people's writing. I know that you've been hired just to voice VSLs. Is that something that evolved for you, or did you just kind of do it and go, boy, that's resonating?
So I did like a little bit of radio when I was in high school, and just I've got a little bit of the radio voice going, and that just naturally, and but never anything professionally. And so, but I thought, but I do speak a lot. And so I was being on stage a lot. So I learned to speak and do all that kind of stuff. And it just kind of evolved naturally, because the first VSL that it was what anyone ever did was Every Other Day Diet. And so naturally I recorded it because I had to. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how it would do. And other people liked it. And so I recorded Mike Geary's, the next one. And then that did really well and just kind of kept going to Pimsleur and et cetera. And then, and so I haven't taken copy jobs this all year because the copyright, I'm probably done with that. But yeah, occasionally someone will call me up and say they'll pay me some like ridiculous fee to do voiceover, which will take me 3 hours or something at most, and I just record it and send it off. And it's fun. It just became something like, it's just kind of fun. So I did one for I mention the name, but the product was an ED product. So it was really, so people are like, it got so big that people were coming up to me going, "Hey, you're the boner guy." But no, I'm really not. I'm really not.
Dude, you got a lot of issues.
I'm not a 57-year-old history professor. There is one, but I'm not him. So I just did the one for my new fitness book, the 4-Day Thyroid Diet, and I did. My partner is when a lot of marketers use fake doctors, they'll like pay a doctor like, here's $5,000, a doctor in Singapore or whatever. Well, my doctor's actually a real MD from Ohio State, and he just doesn't. He doesn't have a good. He has a good, really good presence, really good-looking, strong guy on video, but doesn't have his voice presence, right? And so I just recorded as him, and so now people hear that and they think I'm Dr. Capasso. But anyway, so that's how that evolved. But
it's very different though, John. Like you talk about speaking on stage and you talk about doing some radio, even a podcast. Right now we're having casual conversation, but when I have to instruct a voiceover actor on how to read a VSL, I send them links to your stuff and I go, try to understand what this guy's doing. There's so much nuance to it. It is not easy, and it is not natural for most people, especially if they've had broadcast experience. You almost have to coach them out of that.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm lucky that I didn't get trained in that. I got literally thrown into the booth because a friend of mine worked for Zoo Radio back in Dallas back in the day. So
what could you tell us? Like if somebody's out there trying to read a VSL, I know you've trained on this. Is there like one overriding tip that you go, man, but just don't do this and you'll be okay?
To say don't sound like you're reading is very difficult when you're reading a script. So I talk about reading through a script, sort of like you read music. You don't read every note of music. You read the patterns, right? It's the same way with words, except not as difficult. So you're reading through a script and you're kind of reading, almost glancing through the words. And then since I highlight the NLP words, I'll just stop and emphasize that word. And the next thing that I talk about doing is stand up when you record. That's going to give you more energy. And then finally, it's always a good idea to have a picture of your avatar on the near where you can see, to where you feel like you're talking to one person. And a great way to practice your VSL is to sit down with someone that you love or care about and say, I'm going to read this to you. And just tell me when it sounds like I'm not reading to you. If it starts sounding like I'm reading to a group of people, stop me. And at that point, you make notations.
Very cool. Love it. Great tips. Thank you. You talked about being a poet first, right? Of all things. Do you remember the first time you wrote something that got a reaction?
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Will you share it?
I do. I wrote, I started writing poetry in high school, which sucked. And then something happened when I got in college. I had an experience with a muse, and then something came out, and the girl just wept and broke into tears and just had this really almost like a panic reaction. And you have to share this with your professors and stuff. I go, well, really? It's like, and so I had a professor of mine say, wow, this is like really, you should do this. You should get into this. And so, and then when I was in a relationship with one of my very first epic partners, and this was like 15 years ago, and I would write for her. I wrote like 50 sonnets for her. So the reactions were, yeah, it was crazy. But so getting that reaction, that's obviously the most intimate form of writing you possibly do. But to have the reaction, I'll tell this real quick story. For my 50th birthday, I had this crazy idea that I had so many friends that don't even know that I write poetry, because when you say I'm a poet, it sounds so freaking hoity-toity. What's next? That I smoke weed at Berkeley? I mean, it's like, I'm George Clooney. I'm that smug, but I'm, yeah. So, but that's how I kind of started in this. And, so I had all these my closest friends that never knew I even wrote poetry. So they got to this wild, party that we're having. And I said, so we're going to have the intimate part of our party is going to be where you got all your women here. And I'm going to pass out like 5 different poems, and you're going to read these poems to your girls, right? To your wife or your girlfriend or whatever. And to see the reactions on their faces was really awesome. That was like, because they're reading this stuff going, you got to be kidding me, man. And so the girls were loving it, and it was good. So
that's great. Talk about a focus group, right? Or seeing a test.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It was like just to see what's happening. So yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Very cool. All right, let's get to the essential question of this show. The question I ask all my guests. This is the highlight reel question. So, Jon Benson, what is the one thing you've done in your marketing that has produced the most surprising result?
By default, the answer would have to be creating a video sales letter. Creating the video sales letter, doing the first one, the ugly video sales letter, by far and away. That was quasi accidental, and it meaning that I think most people know the story, but if you don't, I just didn't want to be on camera that day because I didn't shave, and I decided to just put the words on a screen and put it up a YouTube video, and then coming from an ad agency background, I knew that black and red were the most dominant colors in marketing. I said, marketers aren't thinking this way, so I decided to do black and red. And then I said, well, why don't I turn the NLP words red? And that's how the whole thing got started. It just came out, and I put this thing up there, and the sales just blew up. And within 2 months, people were spending $1 million a month on traffic for my offer. And it was just an incredible leap. So
yeah, it really, really revolutionized our business, and still going. So an amazing moment. How surprised were you by those results? I think you mentioned you just kind of did it, went to bed, let's see what happens. Like how immediate was the response where you're like, oh my God, something's happening here?
It was the next day. I went to bed, woke up, and I looked at my sales, and this is everybody's going to laugh at this point. My average sales on an email at that time to every other day diet list was, this was a list that was built from Fit Over 40, which was a very healthy list at the time. It was probably maybe 30,000 people or something like that. I would sell like maybe 10 copies of it or something, on an average email, on an average video.
$37 product, or
yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I woke up, and it was like it was 60. I was like, what the hell just happened? 60? Okay, something's wrong. And I just thought, okay, something wrong. And then I thought, wait, if it's going to do this well on a YouTube video, I wonder what it's going to do on if I actually put this video on my sales page. And so yeah, it's
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great answer. And nice to get it from you directly, because very few surprising results revolutionized the entire industry.
Well, that's the one.
Jon, you talk quickly, if you could help, if I'm listening and I keep hearing you say NLP words and I don't know what that is, just give us a quick example if you could.
Sure. Neuro-linguistic programming, which I got into in college, just really from Anthony Robbins, who actually I owe Anthony Robbins, I think, most of the credit for me starting in a business to begin with. Can you hold on one second, Mary?
Sure.
Okay. So yeah, Anthony Robbins really got me into thinking about NLP. And then I had my roommate at the time was started studying NLP, and then under a guy that we didn't know that we were so close to the source, under a guy that studied with Richard Bandler. And so I was listening more into that, and it just became like for me, it was like, how do I relate better to women? How do I relate better to people? You know, I was using it just as a communication tool, not as a manipulation tool. Like, I mean, a lot of guys use it as a tool for manipulation. I was using it to like, how can I connect better with people? So NLP is like a firearm. You can use it to kill, or you can use it to protect. And so I've tried to use it in ethical ways. So what's
an example of an NLP word? Could you give
sure.
What's on the screen that you would identify as an NLP word?
Okay, I'll give you this one. Listen, by now you must realize that I have a lot to share with you, blah, blah, blah. So I just loaded that with NLP. So listen is a command.
Mm-hmm.
By now is BYNOW, but your subconscious can hear BUYNOW. So if you look at my sales letters, I use by now a lot.
Mm.
So that is, I'm bypassing your conscious brain and going right to the subconscious mind. And so I forgot what I just said, because I can speak in NLP, but there was a lot of NLP there. So
yeah, very cool. It's great. So you would in red would be BYNOW on, so it would stand out on. It's like a silent command.
Yeah. So listen would be in red, and then in the next slide would start by now you must realize. Okay. So must would be red, must realize, or must. You can just underline it sometimes too. But I have done this, and people have spotted it before, where by now is spelled BUYNOW.
Oh, you literally spell it the other way.
Literally spell it by now, and people just say, "Oh, you misspelled by now." But what are you thinking?
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is what I call ethical persuasion. That's my little tagline for this. Ethical persuasion is built around using things that is, again, remember we balkanized the two products. We separated these two into the products that the crap products that cure cancer, right, or whatever, and then the really ethical product that maybe help people through chemotherapy. So I'm assuming again that you're on the ethical side of the fence to this thing.
Right.
So then at that point, your goal as a marketer becomes, I will do anything shy of lying, anything necessary to sell you on this product, because it will help you. And people by nature completely have sales friction, right?
Right.
You want to buy things. We love to buy shit, but we don't like to be sold stuff.
Right.
So there's a lot of friction there, and you have to overcome that friction using all the strategies that you can. So you can either study and become a professional copywriter, or, and this is where services like what we offer come in really handy. You can hire it out, which is very expensive, or you can use tools like we have, which is far less expensive, that's already loaded with these persuasion triggers.
Mm-hmm.
I call NLP sentences persuasion triggers.
I love it. And I've, again, been privileged to your private teaching of this stuff, and it's truly mind-blowing. Jon, thanks for being with us. Let's talk about Email Copy Pro for just a minute. I think it's in beta. Is it even available to the general public right now?
Here's what happened. We opened that to our first beta group a week early. We thought we were going to open on February 21st, but it was like, man, we tested this, and it's like, let's open it up. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. And we just kind of, we'll just post it in Copy Posse, which isn't, we've got 1,100 members there, because it's all like accelerator customers. And unfortunately, only a third of our customers actually get in there.
Right.
So we posted in there, and we had like 30 people show up, and all 30 bought. And it's like, okay, so that's 100% close. That's pretty good. And so I said, well, we were limited at 25, but we pushed it to 30 because we're coaching one-on-one. And then And after the first 2 calls, I'm like, wait, there was only one technical problem and it was fixed in 3 minutes. It was just one line of code. And there were some great ideas to make it even better that we took and just made it even better. And then after that, we're like, wait, why don't we just open this up to the next 100 people? So we just did that today. So there's 100 slots open, and then we have to shut it down again because we're doing special things for those people before the April 4th launch, when there's no way at that point, because we've got like so many marketers on board to promote it.
Yeah.
There's 100 people that are left in beta, and they get some, not only do they save $100 a month permanently for life, they get some really incredible perks, including me coaching you through how to do it, because we're building the video tutorials through the coaching. That's the only thing that's not complete. The software is complete, and there might be a few like emails we have to, we forgot to put a period there or something, but nothing too major. We're doing the video training and the tutorials that with the group, because we wanted to make sure we get all their feedback before we did those videos. So we're doing that in the month of March, and it launches April 4th. But yeah, they still got 100 slots open if they can get in before then.
Okay, great. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes. And I know 2 years you've worked on this. We talked about it a little up front, but I saw the video for this. It's mind-blowing. I mean, just imagine, and like you said, Jon, the caveat here is you have to care about connecting well, and you got to do a little bit of work to set the thing up. But once you've done that, it's literally like having the greatest copywriting tool at your fingertips you could have, because you guided this, you customized it to write emails specifically to your demographic about your product and in your voice.
Right.
And everything is tweakable, before it goes out. It's not like they press send and they hope it sounds right? It's all very interactive.
Yeah, and one of the coolest features that we added, and it was kind of on a whim. I said, hey, you know what'd be really cool? And then my entire team just cringed when I said this. I go, it's because every tool out there, they give you a script, right? And it's like, what if we could write like 15 different versions of every sentence and have it work with every other sentence? And they're like, look at me and go, no, that's not played. No, it's like, so, and then we could pull in different variables that they entered, and it would but it would keep the same persuasion triggers, the same structure of the emails. And then, so that's what it does. You can click a button and it rewrites, and click a button and it rewrites, click a button and it rewrites. And then what's really badass is that the emails that we're pulling in are not emails that, hey, Jon sat down and wrote, 100 emails for you to use. We pulled emails from the hottest campaigns on the internet, but we also went back 100 years and pulled the greatest direct marketing messages. We have the old Wall Street Journal ad. We have the Prevention Magazine ad. We have these things that have literally did $1 billion in business, and we've taken these and put these into emails. We've got sequences from everything from Todd Brown's funnel sequence to my own webinar sales multiplier to you name it, and even a nurture sequence where we have content. Now, scripters usually can't do content, but ours does. And so you have to kind of see it to see how it does it. But it's pretty cool.
It's really amazing. So it's imagine like a living, breathing, interactive swipe file that you can totally control, but does the bulk of the work for you with proven copy.
Exactly, and then we're adding new templates every single month, and then new sequences every month, and so last thing I'll say, just to prove how this is the data that you enter is so robust. I decided to say I'm going to put all the data together into one of my sales letters. That's the sales letter people know, if they read it, they go, it's probably Jon's style sales letter, and out comes a 5,500 word sales page in literally 1 second.
Wow.
And if you read it, you cannot tell. Machine. No one in the beta group. We had people in the beta group. I just paid a guy $25,000 to write 20 emails, and this is better. It's like, so yeah, it's that well customized, and it doesn't matter what niche you're in. It doesn't matter at all.
Well, you know how passionate I am about freelancers and copywriters, and the bottom line is, there'll always be a need for us. And again, the reason I could champion this in you, Jon, is because I know you, and I know that the last thing in the world you're trying to do is replace the human copywriter, the human element in any of this. You're just giving people who have the passion, can't afford to hire a copywriter, or desperately want to do it themselves and can't quite get the writing part of it down, a way to do it effectively.
Yeah, and we have multiple professional copywriters in the thing now, and they're going, oh my! So not only are they taking it and using because you guys are using, every copywriter is looking at swipe files when they do this. So think of this as like the greatest swipe library you could ever get.
Yeah.
And you could use 50% of it and then write your own stuff. Because I want copywriters in there adding stuff to this thing. So we're actually hiring copywriters to come in and actually put stuff in to actually create more content. So yeah, it's more of an employee source for copywriters as well as a tool to help things go faster. But yeah, and this one guy did say that. He did actually say that, but maybe he just didn't hire somebody.
Right. Yeah.
But
no,
still,
I know it's the same for Accelerator. It was like, it did nothing but help copywriters. Right.
Yeah.
And so awesome. John, thanks so much for doing this, man. I'm excited about Email Copy Pro. Really excited to get this time with you today. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Kevin. It's great to catch up with you.
Hey, thanks again for listening to the Truth About Marketing podcast. If you like this show and you think other people would like this show, the best way to spread the word is by reviewing and rating the show in iTunes. Just log in, click review, leave a big old fat 5-star review, and let everybody know that you dig the show so that they can dig it too. To get all the links and resources we mentioned on today's episode, please go to copychief.com/TAM, as in Truth About Marketing. And if you'd like to learn more about how you can improve your sales copy with templates, formulas, coaching, feedback, or hiring a pro, do all that on the inside of the members area of copychief.com, and I will look for you there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.